Good morning. Can you please introduce yourself?
Good morning. I'm Dr. Julie McGrath. I have a PhD in history. I've been a secondary school teacher for the last 10, 11 years. And for the last 2 years, I've been TY coordinator in my school.
Perfect. Can you tell me more about TY and what that is?
Sure. Transition year is a uniquely Irish idea, I suppose. So it's bridging the gap between junior students and senior, where we kind of open them up to new ideas, practical skills, travel, different subjects, languages, and extracurricular activities that they mightn't otherwise have the chance to do, and to kind of help prepare them for senior cycle in college.
Oh, that's fantastic. Have you heard of the term sharing economy? And if so, have you ever used this in your teaching?
Sure, I have. But in my professional practice in my school, a colleague is doing a PhD in education, so she established a community of practice within our school. So we meet periodically, most of the teaching staff. So we discuss different teaching strategies, communication strategies, share resources, ideas, and especially within our subject departments, then building up kind of, I suppose, a catalogue of things that we can use that will benefit each other.
Fantastic. And in regards to your students, how would you get them involved in that kind of idea of a sharing economy or the collaborative process that you and your colleagues do?
Yeah, one of the most successful things we did just in the previous school year was we started the Green Schools initiative, which we hadn't done previously in our school. We're a small school. And so as TY coordinator and with the science teachers, we kind of proposed this idea to our TY students, would they be interested? The take-up was huge. They got really involved and it was really successful. And I think it was successful because it was very much student-led. We gave them kind of particular roles that they could take on and they could take ownership of it. And I suppose it's something that they're genuinely concerned about, is climate change and the environment. So it was a very kind of real and tangible experience for them to be involved with.
Oh, fantastic. And in regards to how you teach your students, and particularly as we come out of the pandemic and new ways of teaching, have you done anything like digital storytelling, online things, using digital resources with your students?
Yeah, massively. Again, we're a small school, so we kind of probably had more access to IT than in very large schools, maybe. So during the pandemic, it was obviously we wouldn't have managed without it. And since we've kind of come back and we're in-person teaching again, I would say students are comfortable with using technology now in comparison to other years. They're a little bit more adept. And I suppose it mirrors their real lives. It's just a normal part of life now. And so in terms of, research and communication, yes, we have used digital storytelling in my classes. They've made their own kind of little audiobooks, comic strips. We've used a lot of filmmaking, both for like artistic reasons, and also we kind of entered some like history competitions where they made their own like documentaries and things like that. So yeah, digital storytelling in terms of like digital photo stories and things like that would be kind of a common practice in our school now.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds really good. In regards to teaching, what do you think, particularly for your cohort in a secondary school scenario, what do you think the biggest challenge of getting these new, bigger global ideas, like we were talking about, or getting that external worldview into students? How do you go about that? Or what challenges do you see in that area?
It is definitely a challenge. I think there's a tendency to be a bit insular, and we're a small little island, I suppose, and we kind of, especially it's kind of, you're at that point in your life, I think, as a teenager when you're very much thinking about your immediate kind of, what am I going to do with my life and what am I going to study, and it's very immediate. So the big kind of world issues seem very far away sometimes. With us, it's a dialogic practice, I suppose, where students are free to discuss pretty much everything with us, and they do. So I think it's kind of incumbent on teaching and management staff to allow students the space to discuss issues and to also give them a good grounding and basis of knowledge in what is relevant and pertinent to their lives.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I'm going to throw a little bit of curveball in here. As you mentioned, you had a PhD in history, which means that you probably used a lot of older resources and things like that. How did you go about acquiring those, or what did that mean for you in using those?
in using them? For me, it was totally essential to use the primary sources. My PhD is in 19th century history, so I looked at mainly 19th century, some 18th century documents, and some older than that. So that was the foundation of my PhD completely, those primary sources. So I accessed them, some online, digital scans and copies, which made life much faster rather than searching through thousands and thousands of newspapers. I could do a quick search, so that was great. But most of my primary resources were held in archives, mainly in Trinity College in Dublin, some in Limerick City Archive and some in UCC. Some are private collections, some were donated to the state, like in the National Library.
So really, you had to work in that kind of that sharing idea of bringing all these archives together to get your PhD.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's fantastic. Even I said it again. That's fantastic, Dr. McGrath. I really appreciate your time and the work you're doing with your transition year students. It sounds like they're really getting a 360 world view of the stuff that's going on in the world, which is fantastic. So thank you very much for your time.